Good afternoon, friends. Stephen Ben-Nun here with Israeli News Live, and we are on Patreon, and this is one of our exclusive messages that we're going to be making here on Patreon, not available anywhere else but Patreon. So I want to get into this, and by the way, we did remove one video from Patreon, and I actually did it because a good friend of ours on Facebook contacted me that the image that we were showing of the towers absent an airplane was incorrect. His wife was actually there, so we certainly are saddened by the effects that this has left on her and her life. I won't go into the details because I don't think that'd be right to share the private information there, but I can definitely relate to what he said this has caused for his wife because of Yana's own suffering. My wife herself actually suffers with complex PTSD from the murder of her father, or I should say the homicide of her father. So anyway, we're going to go into, so I did remove that. I am going to be doing, though, because I got some very good information from this brother there. I'll be sharing some very in-depth information about that. We'll post it here first on Patreon, and then we'll make it public on Israeli News Live. Anyway, let's get started, though, right at the very beginning of this. This says Ukraine will join NATO. That's really what I'm looking at. Is Ukraine going to actually become a NATO member? And I'm thinking that perhaps, and this is just my own thought, it's a conjecture here, that Ukraine is going to circumvent the typical norms of NATO because NATO is so biting at the bit to go to war with Russia. And I don't think all NATO allies are biting at the bit, clearly. But there are many of those that are. And I think that's why they want Ukraine to be part of the NATO alliance. It's not to say that Ukraine shouldn't deserve to be part of that alliance. But I think at this point, they're only looking to bring them in because of Russia and wanting to go further and break up Russia into several regions. So let's take a look at some things here. Besides that there, Russia sends a chilling message to the world, dashing hopes the Ukraine war is close to ending. Now, that's brought out by express.co.uk. I differ with that. I feel like that Russia is really and truly trying to bring peace. They have on multiple occasions there, but it's just never come to pass. So the disturbing warning from Kremlin follows Vladimir Zelensky's claim this week that the war with Russia could end sooner than people think. And they're saying that Mr. Lavrov here is the rhetoric behind his speech there is the reason why. Russia has laughed off Ukrainian claims that the brutal war between the two countries is near an end. Earlier this week, Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky said the war with Russia could end sooner than some people think. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said Moscow response to Kiev was simply to keep winning the war, which he said was unleashed by Western countries at the hands of Ukrainians. I'm going to pause for a moment, though. This video here, I had to go look at this story. Bear approaches woman at a bus stop, follows her, watch what happened. I think this video here was just to kind of illustrate this issue here. But the story is very, very lengthy. But I have to tell you, it is absolutely an amazing story. How a bear, just like in that case, I saw this video not long ago, a deer, its little fawn was in trouble. It stopped traffic until it could get somebody to realize, hey, come follow me, help, right? And the little fawn was stuck in a fence, and the guy rescued the fawn. Well, this lady here followed this bear through a long, long track of woods. And what it was, some very evil people were trying to capture this little cub because it was white and it was unusual. And so this girl here was able to free it from the net trap they had set. And this girl helped her to free that little cub. She was very afraid at first, but she just kept feeling like something put in her heart. She's got to go. She's got to go. This mother then the people are coming back, right? It's really a fantastic story. She hears the people coming, and then the mother now puts herself between those people and the girl that rescued her cub, letting her know that she is going to protect the girl that protect her cub. So it's amazing. You definitely, I'll put the link of this in the article, because it's worth the read. It really is worth the read. Anyway, the victory is needed. The West, do not understand any other language. This victory will be ours. We have no doubt, Mr. Lavrov added, the Russians had become truly united in the face of war. Israel's done the same thing. Israel, in their war against Gaza and now Hezbollah with Lebanon, have really become united, with the exception of those that have family members that are held as hostages. But, I mean, I've been hearing estimates out of Jewish news sources, 90% of Israelis are for the war in Gaza. I'm dumbfounded. I'm really dumbfounded. And I will tell you something. Those hostages could have been released long ago. And they should have never been taken in the first place. All right. Anyway, different issue, different story, different day. The Russian remarks came on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly, where Ukraine's Zelensky has spoken about his victory plan. He told the U.S. news broadcaster ABC, "I think that we are close to the peace, closer than we think." Mr. Zelensky, who will address the UN General Assembly today, said the Ukraine victory plan was a bridge to diplomat way out to stop the war. He said that the plan relied on Western countries allowing Ukraine to ease restrictions on the use of long-range missiles, which could be used to strike deep into Russia. So that's really Zelensky's idea of making this war come to an end, is simply give us the long-range missiles, we'll bomb Russia to the oblivion to make them beg for a ceasefire. That's why Lavrov is getting very clear this war is not going to end anytime soon. But you got to pay attention to what's written in the article. Lavrov is not saying that they want to keep on going along with a war. He's letting you know, though, that Zelensky's idea of bringing this war to an end is long-range missiles to attack Russia. And so Mr. Lavrov is letting the world know real quick, like, if you begin to use those long-range missiles on Russian cities and towns and infrastructure, that's not going to make the war end anytime soon. It's going to definitely drag it out. That's why I keep looking at this NATO alliance issue, right? NATO wants hot war with Russia, which may destroy the U.S. That's what Tucker Carlson said, and TASS, Russian news agency, is reporting this here. Says here the Northern Atlantic Alliance wants to go to war with Russia, which would destroy the United States and possibly Hungary as well, noted U.S. journalist Tucker Carlson said as he released an interview with political advisor to the Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban. Balazs Orden and his website on Thursday. According to the Hungarian politician, his country can end up in a heated war between NATO and Russia, a scenario that he described as the worst thing possible. And no one wants to do it, but no one is strong enough to stop it. Orban, the namesake of the Hungarian Prime Minister, no relation added, but everything that they're doing shows they want a hot war with Russia, which will destroy the United States and possibly Hungary too, Tucker reported. And, and really Hungary is one of the few countries in the NATO bloc over in Eastern Europe that has really got any moral sense in the first place. Let's just face it, right? This is from the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, their own official website. Relations with Ukraine. The security of Ukraine is of great importance to NATO and its member states. The alliance fully supports Ukraine's inherent right to self-defense and its right to choose its own security arrangements. Ukraine's future is in NATO. Relations between NATO and Ukraine date back to the early 1990s, have since developed into one of the most substantial of NATO's partnerships. Since 2014, in the wake of the Russian illegal annexation of Crimea, Cooperation has been intensified in critical areas since Russia's full-scale invasion of 2022. NATO and allies have provided unprecedented levels of support. Ukraine, so the thing is, the situation is not going to get any better as long as we keep going down this particular rabbit hole. Medvedev, who is a former president of Russia and a very close ally and confidant to Vladimir Putin, says Ukraine's NATO membership would lead to war. And the reason why they say leading to war is not to say that, oh, we're going to vote them into NATO. They know that voting them in now means that Russia's war in Ukraine would become a NATO problem, and therefore NATO would then actively get involved. Russia would have no choice at that point to begin to protect itself from NATO countries. I don't think that they're not already planned to do it. They are, right? Robert Kennedy Jr. even says Zelensky's only strategy for victory is to embroil us in a World War III, and Vice President Harris is all for it. Harris doesn't have the ability to really understand the makings of the running of the United States in the first place. She's dependent upon whatever aides there are and what their opinions are on running a nation. But quite frankly, I'm not for Trump either. Trump clearly will go down the rabbit hole of 100% Zionistic support. Maybe he'll get a peace with Russia. But if he doesn't, then we're in a war with Russia, China, and Iran with Israel. And by the way, it's already a very problematic situation. We've not only moved troops to Cyprus, allegedly for a training mission, but now the British are also moving troops to Cyprus. They claim that their troops are going there to be able to evacuate the British out of this region of the world because of all the war that's about to break out. And of course, don't forget, Israel also shut down the Al Jazeera, and that only creates more of a problem. And my cat is trying to lay down inside of a suitcase with a bunch of stuff. Can't find a comfortable spot, so I close the lid. Now she lay on the lid. So, General Stoltenberg rejects President Putin's peace proposal and tries to convince everyone that NATO is the strongest. That's what the Post said there. That was in a different language there. Let me just see here. We'll see what Jens had to say.
It's not for Ukraine to withdraw forces from Ukrainian territory. It's for Russia to withdraw their forces from occupied Ukrainian land. And this proposal is a proposal that actually means that Russia should have the right to occupy even more Ukrainian land. All the 4 provinces that they claim are not Ukrainian. So this just demonstrates that this is not a proposal made in good faith, but this is a proposal that actually means that Russia should achieve their war aims by also expecting, or by expecting that Ukraine should give up significantly more land.
You know, the thing that doesn't make any sense is when Mr. Stoltenberg makes these comments like this, he's totally negating the fact that Ukraine has been at war with the Donbass region. At one time, very peaceful with Ukraine, but when you go and you force in a Nazi style a people to live in tyranny, make people, I remember the video footage during the Maidan coup, they overthrow a government. The United States, NATO allies are overthrowing the government of Ukraine, a democratically elected government, during what is famously known as the Maidan coup. And the people of the far east of Ukraine become the outcast of society. And now the war, not only had it become a civil war of sorts in the nation, now all of Ukraine was attacking the people of the Far East. I remember them dragging them off buses, making them, if they were any of Russian descent type or spoke the Russian language and not Ukrainian, making them eat glass. I mean, the most horrific crimes you could ever imagine being done on these people. They're the ones that want independence. Russia stayed out of that part. Now, they didn't stay out of Crimea. They dealt with Crimea very quickly because it was their naval base in that part of the world. But eastern Ukraine, they stayed out of that whole issue for 8 years. And it wasn't until finally, when NATO was planning an attack, backing the fighters of Ukraine, giving them support, willing to cut off the Russians, that Russia intervened. So I'm not for the war, period, but you cannot expect the people of Ukraine to be able to live in peace when Ukrainian thugs are going around making the Ukrainian citizens eat glass and shooting them and burning them out and everything else, every torture you could imagine, and then call that Ukrainian citizens, all because they ethnically still relate to Russia. They didn't want to be a part of Russia either. They really didn't, but the thing is, it's the only people that would come to their aid. And these are things that a lot of times people just do not pay attention to. Here we go right here. This is another victim, as Che Bose puts out, in Ukraine. Another lost soul forced to die for Western investors of freedom. Let me show you this video right here. Just very sad to see what happens. There we go. He's fighting everything he can to keep from going, but he's an older guy. He can't really fight back very well. They force him into the car, his wife trying her best to try to stop them from taking her husband, but nope, that isn't going to happen. Of course, no, allegedly it's her husband, but you can see she's a gray-haired woman and they're threatening her. And they take the old guy. So, I don't know if he'll get free or not, but he's sure fighting hard to keep from going in that car. This is how they do it. They kidnap you and take you to the front lines. They just need more bodies, as they put it, to die for the cause. What a tragedy. What a tragedy. That's what it's come down to. War Monitor posted this. I haven't actually shared anything he's posted in a long time, just mainly because I haven't seen much, but this is very troubling machine that the Germans gave the Ukrainians. I would imagine, besides being an air defense to shoot down the drones and stuff, this machine is probably very capable of shooting down aircraft as well. Just at the rapid speed this thing can move and hone in on its target. Definitely state-of-the-art and very deadly to be able to take out. And just let me play the sound of this thing as it goes off. Listen to what it does. And they lock in on a drone and boom, it will take that rascal down. So that's not long-range missiles, so it's not in violation with Russian agreement there, but or Russian red lines, I should say. But clearly, it's stepping up what they're willing to use. NATO preparing for potential ground war with Russia, including plans for U.S. troop involvement. This comes out on the New York Post here. NATO is mapping out land corridors to enable U.S. troops and other allied forces to reach the front lines quicker in the event of a broader European ground war with Russia. I actually reported on this a little while back myself. June 7th, I remember this article before. But again, just going to show more and more that determination to go to war with Russia. And here we go here. This is what I was mentioning to you. UK to send troops to Cyprus as the U.S. deploys troops to the Middle East. British Ministry of Defense announced that they will be deploying 700 troops to Cyprus to prepare for the evacuation of British nationals from Lebanon. So these are the things that we're covering right now. This is our look at the NATO and Ukraine becoming a member of the NATO alliance, what it would mean. And I'm wanting to do every week here on our Patreon channel in-depth looks at certain issues there. And this is our exclusive for Patreon viewers. Thank you for being a patron. We appreciate your support and your help here. And can't wait to share more with you. I've actually got a teaching going to be going up over here, going into Romans 11. And I know some people probably think, oh, Brother Steve's going to say it's fulfilled. No, actually, it's not. So, in all my debunking of a lot of the Schofield ideology, this is one, but it's not going to be fulfilled quite the way some people think. So, can't wait to share that with you as well. God bless you. Thank you for listening. Stephen Banoon with Israeli News Live.